What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lady League. This is the first episode, girls only on the panelists and hosts, but boys are welcome to watch as well. So we're going to recap week 3. We're going to talk about implications for week 4. We've got some reverb there. I'm hearing myself. She muted it, and it's going to be awesome. So let's start with the first whistle. Wait a second. Let me introduce who's with me. I'm RZ. I'm broadcasting live from Los Angeles. We've got Allie, who is also broadcasting live from Los Angeles, right next door, actually, which is kind of weird, but kind of awesome. And then Dr. Z, straight from Chicago. Those are the ladies of the league. So let's do first whistle now. Colleen, you are up first. I am putting 40 seconds on the game clock. Don't judge my phone. It's got a crack in it. All right, ready? Go time.
Okay, I want to talk to you guys about Marvin Jones Jr. He absolutely went off this week. He had 6 receptions on 8 targets, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, granted, he's not going to break those big plays every week, but he is averaging over 22 yards per catch, which is absolutely amazing. I'm telling you right now, he's a must start every week, and I think he is a top 10 wide receiver rest of season. And he is currently the number 1 wide receiver in scoring. So he's got both the talent and the opportunity. Start him with confidence.
I love it. 38.6 seconds. Pretty good. All right. I'm resetting the clock for Allie. Let's go. 40 seconds on the clock. First whistle.
Yes. Okay. Who else had so much fun seeing the Browns and the Dolphins try to be worse than each other? It reminded me of last year with the Vikings and 49ers games where they were both so awful, and I loved it because I hate both those teams. But it was fun. It was fun to see a desperately fun move of putting wide receiver Terrell Pryor in at quarterback. You know, like, this is what dreams are made of, people. Also, I don't know if you guys ever root for your bench to do badly, but this is what my fantasy week was about because I made a lot of iffy moves. So I was basically spending my weekend in fear watching Doug Baldwin just rack up points on my bench, and I'm out.
Delay of game.
Babies.
It's okay. We won't hold it against you. Okay, so my first whistle. Yes, we will. 40 seconds on the clock. Okay, we all saw it happen. This is not exactly fantasy related, but it is relevant because we were all looking for that Josh Norman, Odell Beckham battle royale, but we didn't expect to see Odell take on the net and lose. For those of you who haven't seen it, there is a GIF on our Facebook page because we enjoy seeing things like that, just the unexpected. So 28 seconds, not quite a no-huddle offense, but pretty good, pretty fast for me. So
good job.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So fantasy football is a lot about moping and a lot about gloating based on what you do that is awesome and who you leave on your bench, who you pick up from the waiver wire and drop. So we're going to kick things off with moping or gloating. Allie, you're going to start. Are you moping today or are you gloating?
I'm doing a little bit of both because it's a half gloat because my running backs are killing it in my PPR league. So they're not racking as many points as they could be. But both Devonta Freeman and DeMarco Murray were super great for me after having somewhat slow starts. But I mean, yeah, Devonta Freeman, 152 yards, y'all, while everyone else was watching the debate. He was being a little workhorse. Very excited to see.
Had quite a few.
So it's committing.
He had the goal line back.
Yes,
they both did great.
They both did great, and I was a little worried about him on my team, but I'm feeling a little bit better about that now. What else? I was moping, obviously, I mentioned this before, about sitting Doug Baldwin like a dum-dum. But my biggest mope of all time was when you dream about fantasy football and it hurts you in your real life. In my dream, I had started Kyle Rudolph, and because I did that, I forgot to do it in real life. So I kept Kyle Rudolph on the bench, started Martellus Bennett, and was moping the whole way home.
I'm sure Kyle Rudolph would be so happy to know that you're dreaming about him. We should really send him a tweet or something about that.
Why? A lot of mopes in my day, but never that you thought you had done it because you did it in your dream. I feel like that is somewhat kind of true commitment, Allie. Except you missed on the follow-through.
She lives, breathes, and dreams football, people.
Seriously. All right, Colleen, are you moping? Are you gloating? You're probably gloating because I feel like that's what you tend to do. You are our stat queen.
Well, I would mope had I not went 2-0 this week in both my leagues. I won both my matchups basically on the backs of my wide receivers. Marvin Jones, who I mentioned earlier, I own him in both my leagues. Mike Evans, I absolutely went off. And then my running backs, Melvin Gordon, who I sort of reached for in the draft, and he's my boy. He did pretty good for me. But the person I want to talk about is Charles Sims. He recently went in for Doug Baldwin, and there were some question marks. Is he going to be able to perform, especially when he had a kind of a tough matchup? He's got 2 tough matchups ahead, so I think people want to know about him. He had 13 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. He also added 6 receptions on 8 targets for 69 yards. I mean, this is fantasy gold right here. Based on how he performed last week, I think that even though he has 2 tough matchups, you can go ahead and start him with confidence. He's going to get you the points.
I like it. Okay, I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna start with a gloat and with a mope. I drafted Jordan Howard. I was really high on his upside and wasn't convinced Langford was going to be the guy. By the way, Colleen made fun of me for that pickup.
My bad.
Yeah, well, here comes the mope though, because I have a short bench in that league, and so I dropped him. And now I'm like, dang it, I'm gonna have to probably blow some of my budget to get him back. Although, for those of you that haven't heard, and we'll talk a little bit about this more later, the Bears signed Joique Bell today. So we'll see if that affects Jordan Howard's value. But Langford is out 4 to 6 weeks. So somebody's going to get the starting job. Yeah. So
I think Howard has looked great. And like I said, I take it all back. It was a good pickup in the draft. If only you'd
but that team is a dumpster fire.
Absolutely. Like I wouldn't put too much faith in any Bear at this point. But if you're desperate, Howard has as good a shot at anybody. He's going to get the touches, and even if he's ineffective, if he rushes 25 times, he's going to get you.
Exactly.
I mean,
any starting running back, I mean, you've got to start him, and the volume, the workload, and in his limited opportunities, he's looked good in the preseason and whatnot. So
terrible O-line. So
we will talk about this. I guess we'll focus on other running backs to pick up, but Jordan Howard is definitely a pickup of the week, in my opinion. Go for him. Okay, so before we get too far into waiver wires, let's do a little week 3 weekend wrap up. A lot happened, and before we can talk about week 4, we've got to assess what happened this last week. So Colleen, Dr. Z, she is our resident doctor. She is a real doctor. So what you got? Weekend wrap up.
Well, I want to take it back to wide receivers. First of all, Mike Evans, he's the number 2 scoring fantasy wide receiver right now. Going into the season, people had a lot of worries about him with consistency. He wasn't very consistent last year. However, those issues seem to be a thing of the past. He had an incredible 13 targets and 10 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown. You really cannot beat that. Yeah. He's got over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. I say, again, he's going to be a top 10, if not a top 5 wide receiver on the season. And if you have him, you better play him.
And if you don't, you can cry.
Cry. Me. Yes. Or try to trade for him, but I don't think anybody is going to get rid of him.
No.
The other guy I want to talk about, who Allie already mentioned, is Doug Baldwin. Now, he had kind of a bad game last week, and I think it was due to Russell Wilson's injuries / struggles. But even though Russell Wilson got injured early in this game, he still had 10 targets, 8 receptions, 164 yards, and a touchdown. You cannot sit this guy ever again. It's just not. It's too risky. If he goes off, you're you're gonna feel bad like Allie this week. Sorry, Allie. And a quick note on Russell Wilson: he does have an MCL sprain, but he is expected to play. So,
Great.
although I'm a little bit worried about Seattle in general, they haven't looked great. I still think Doug Baldwin is safe play, regardless.
Love it. There are a couple other wide receivers that went off. Emmanuel Sanders finally got into the double digits, 23 on Sunday after totaling only 7 points in his first 2 games. So I think he's still a boom bust kind of option, but going forward. And then rookie Sterling Shepard, who I've been very high on, he had a great week as well. And I think he's going to continue to produce. All right, Allie. So what did you learn from week 3? What stuck out to you?
So going off of what Dr. Z was saying sort of about what are we thinking of Seattle? It's all coming down to these darn matchups. And that's why I've had some hard soul searching this week, because I don't know what to make heads or tails of that Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game. I felt like Pittsburgh was the team. They were going to go to the Super Bowl. Everyone was just super high on them. So this is either Pittsburgh isn't what we thought, or what I think is that people are getting a little too excited about the Eagles. I mean, it was an insane blowout. Like, you cannot take that away from them. No. But the 2 weeks before were the Browns and the Bears. The NFC East is shiesty. They all can't beat each other at the same time. They trade losses and wins. So even though, I mean, you can't deny the win, I'm a little disturbed by it more than excited. I really don't know what to think. My second worry. I'm being very negative. I'm sorry. I'm so worried. I'm so worried. Is it time to give up on the Bears fantasy wise?
In terms of the NFL, yes. In terms of the
NFL, obviously.
There are a couple players I would say that are worth.
Exactly. Obviously, Zach Miller, tight end 1 versus the Lions. You're going to start him, and you're going to be happy about it. Joique Bell was just signed. I think he would be a very interesting pickup if your bench is depleted of running backs.
He had a bad year last year with the Lions, but then the year before that he did well. So who knows behind that?
Got that Lions intel.
That's true.
I think he's going to be a backup.
Yeah, I think Jordan. I mean, Howard's going to get the talent. I think he's going to get the start, but we'll see. It's a wait and see sort of situation. Except snag Howard, as I said.
So, ladies, you help me. I have Alshon Jeffrey, and what's going to happen with him? Do I sit him, or am I going to wait out a few more weeks to see if him and what's his name? Brian Hoyer are going to have some good chemistry.
I have. This is not answering your question, but I have always wanted Brian Hoyer to do well. I have too. But I don't think with this team, he's got nothing really to work with. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is a great talent on a bad team, you know.
Yeah.
So his upside is limited, but exactly. I mean, he still could get you 10 fantasy points every week. I mean, they're going to force feed him the ball. They really have nobody else.
Yeah, garbage time. Now. I don't think you
garbage time too.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely keep him on your roster. Oh yeah, okay.
It's gonna be I was like,
I know it's
question.
I know it's been hard for you, Allie, but don't drop him.
I will.
I think it's based on matchup, so it's week to week, in my opinion.
So there we go. There's my emotional weekend.
That's really up and down. All right, so we've talked briefly about the passing game in Seattle, but I want to talk about the running game a little bit. Even though he has a girl's name, he's the guy in Seattle after his breakout performance. Christine Michael, career best 22 points in fantasy. Rawl is out for several weeks, which at first we thought was a glorified bruise. It was a contusion, but it's turned out that it is a crack in his fibula, which is his leg bone, for those of us that are not doctors. Ouch. So not good for him. And while Rawls is sidelined, I think Christine Michael is an RB1, and you're starting him, especially with, you know, what's going on with Wilson, if he's injured, if he's full tilt, but definitely an RB1, definitely starting him. Okay, so one more thing that happened in week 3 that we have to discuss are the the quarterbacks. Wow, did a lot of big names put up.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, who are these guys? Put up some abysmal performances. It's a special edition of Chill Out or Freak Out. We had Flacco, Eli, Rivers, Palmer, Big Ben. These all, like, Fitzpatrick, terrible performances. So, Dr. Z, who are you talking about? Was one of those QBs or one of the QBs that had a little chill out, or you need to chill out on, or relax, freak out on? That didn't make any sense, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
I gotta tell you, I won this week in spite of my quarterbacks. I don't think I had a quarterback that got me more than 15 points. It was abysmal. One guy I want to talk about, and maybe he's not a stud, so don't laugh, but Blake Bortles. I drafted him in my 2-quarterback league. He was one of my late round picks in the Lady League, along with Derek Carr, who I'm probably going to be starting instead of him rest of season. But Blake Bortles has taken a major step back, and I think a lot of people had higher expectations for the Jaguars this year, and it's just really disappointing to see him throw, interception after interception. 3 interceptions last week, 2 the week before. I mean, it just keeps going up. He had one in week 1, but the thing, I've been watching the games, the Jaguars games, and he just makes bad decisions with the football. He tries to drop it in where it's not going to go when, the guy is covered, whatever. Those poor decisions are the reason why they can't win games, and you got to hope for garbage time.
Yeah.
And it's going to give you a heart attack. It's been giving me a heart attack. I'm talking like he has had like -5 points until the last 5 minutes of the game or something. And then somehow he gets you like 15. I mean, it's no way to live. I think Blake Bortles is droppable at this point. The other guy I want to talk about, and I got to just say this, nothing good ever comes of me drafting Giants players. And here is another example. I don't like the Giants, and when I draft them, bad things happen. Okay, so for an example, Eli Manning, he's got the wide receiver talent. I can't figure out, he's a good player. I mean, I just can't figure out what is wrong there. He's actually been efficient, completing over 70% of his passes, but he's just not getting touchdowns. And
you think it's a clutch situation, like in sort of these clutch end of game times is when he throws the pick?
Yes, he psychs himself out. He has, maybe it's little brother complex. I don't know what it is. He needs to get over it. I mean, he's got Odell Beckham there. I mean, everything should be stars aligned for him, but he finds a way to mess it up. And this week, he's got a tough matchup against the Vikings. I'm hesitant to start him. I think, he could get you 18 points, and you're going to be relieved and satisfied with that. And I don't know if he's going to have too many big games this season. So I'm not happy with him. That's all.
Yeah, not happy.
Send him an angry tweet or a strongly worded letter. Not happy with you, Eli. All right. So just to talk about some of those guys, the big names on the list, I'm saying chill out on most of them. I think that most of them will bounce back. Rivers has the Saints on a short week. He should bounce back. Flacco will be stream worthy if you're waiting one more week for the return of Tom Brady, as I am. So now I'm coming for you girls in the Lady League. Just as an aside to everybody watching, the Lady League is the name of our podcast, vodcast, if you will, but it's also the name of our 12-team all-girl fantasy football league in its 5th season. It has been it's tough. There are players that aren't available in the Lady League that are always available in my other leagues. Like, these girls do not mess around. I think, have we all won at least once? I've won once. Allie?
I won once.
Let's talk about this. I've been to the dance and lost twice in the championship game. I'm like the Bills. I'm like the Buffalo Bills of the Lady League. I'm like the Vikings past 76. It's very frustrating. If I don't win soon, I'm going to lose my mind.
At least you're not the
Ooh, what's my comparison? I won my very first year, and since then it's been yikes.
Yikes. All right, so that's besides the point. So, Rivers should bounce back.
No, it's not. It is the point.
Big Ben will bounce back, and Flacco has the league's worst pass defense in the Raiders coming up. So he is good for this next week. And then, it's based on the matchup with him. He's not an elite quarterback, but depending on the matchup, he is worth it. And then what about Allie? Some of these young guys, these young whippersnappers were.
Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out.
Rankings.
I don't know what to do about Trevor Siemian, Garoppolo, Wentz, Bradford. Who is for real? People get hyped every week, and I'm always very cautious. Obviously, for fantasy reasons, it does make sense to buy in to Wentz. I mean, 5 touchdown, no interceptions. Like, you're not going to mess around with that.
And not just on soft matchups. Like he had, like we were talking about the Steelers. Like he had everyone was saying, oh, maybe it's just the early schedule is easy.
Yeah.
But no, he looks like the real deal. I think he's definitely out of all those guys, he's my favorite for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, I mean, what did he put up? 301 yards against a great team, However, I will say that when it gets to later in the season, I have more confidence in the teams with the good defenses. So that's Bradford and Siemian. So I think once it gets to, later in the season where the boys become men or whatever analogies get made, I think you're going to see like these sort of like bigger rosters step up behind their quarterbacks. And as I said previously, like I'm a little squeamish on the Eagles, and I've been burned before by a stud Eagles quarterback in Nick Foles when he was just like the dream one year.
I mean, you're exactly like every Eagles fan is like quick to jump on the bandwagon and very, very quick to jump off. So
jump off of that.
We'll see. I do think that waiver wire wise, tomorrow is Wentz. Sorry.
King Wenceslas.
I think quarterback wise, Wentz is the one you want on your roster for sure.
All right, one guy we didn't talk about. I just want to mention one guy. I think he's on a bye maybe in 2 weeks. Dak Prescott, he's been pretty solid. He finally got his first throwing touchdown. He gets the Bears next week. So, I mean, if you want to, one option that we haven't really talked about is you can always stream quarterbacks. If
I think did Dak have the Bears
go your way
past Sunday?
Oh, maybe. And maybe he is on a bye this week. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. And I think that is a great question, though, because he has like a lot of possible upside. But I believe he has some tough games coming up.
Yeah, and we'll see because there's some question marks on Dez's health point. He may or may not have had an MRI. He may or may not be fully healthy. So we'll see about that. Okay, so we talk a little bit about quarterbacks. Let's talk about other waiver wire pickups. It is Tuesday night, so a lot of people are figuring out how to fix their roster and just stash guys so that they feel a little bit more confident. However, as Allie was saying about rooting against your bench, sometimes it's like it makes for a headache on who to sit or start. We'll talk about that. We'll post something on the Facebook page and on social media later in the week, but we will talk waiver wires now. Colleen, do you want to kick us off with some wide receivers that you like on waivers?
Absolutely. Just to go back to Dak, actually he plays the 49ers coming up, so that is a good matchup for him. He might have, tough matchups down the road, but for a 1 week play, I still think he is a good option. So regarding waiver wires, I got to tell you right off the bat, none of these guys are hugely exciting to me, but if you've got guys on your team that you've been starting like Golden Tate or Hearns, I mean, you got to drop these guys. They're doing absolutely nothing for you. And it's time to take a chance on some of these guys who've been producing, at least moderately. So the first guy I'm going to say is Jamison Crowder. Plays for the Redskins. He's been pretty consistent. I think he got 5-something points the first week. Then he got, 10. Now he's up to 13-something in Yahoo leagues. He got a touchdown last week. That's pretty good consistency for a guy off the waiver wire. I would trust him a little bit more than somebody who might be a flash in the pan. Like, I hate to say it, Terrell Pryor. 2 things about him. Temper your expectations. Yeah, he did it all. He threw. He caught the ball. He ran the ball.
Fun.
I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's definitely fun. But remember, he plays for the Browns. I don't know if I have to go on. I mean,
Yeah.
He plays for the Browns, and also Josh Gordon is coming back in week 5? So you maybe have one more. You could maybe do him for a 1-week play, but I just don't see the value going forward for him.
I do disagree. I think he's a must-add in all formats. I think you got to have him, and I think you play him. I mean, I think you play him this week over a lot of guys, a lot of flex guys, maybe even over Will Fuller or somebody like that. But and then I think you got to own him. I think I think he still has a lot of value. But maybe you're not starting.
It's only that you're taking him away from others.
That's right. True. Fair enough. I'm a little bit bullish on the Browns. I went, 0 Browns this year, and I'm kind of going to stick with that. One other guy, Cole Beasley. I know Becky's pretty high on this guy. He looks like Dak's favorite target. He's been getting pretty consistent fantasy points around 70 yards every week, but he hasn't gotten any touchdowns. So the red zone isn't there. But if you need a fill-in guy and you just want to know that he's not going to kill your fantasy dreams for that week as a bye-week filler, I think he might be a good option for you.
And if we find out more about Dez, and he is, I would watch the Dez injury situation, because that could affect Cole Beasley's value as well. I'm going to just talk a little bit about running backs. We talked about Jordan Howard. Langford's out 4 to 6 weeks, and I think he's a must-add, even with Joique Bell. Another guy I really like, Colleen and I were talking about this guy last week, but Dwayne Washington, he's only owned in 23% of leagues. He did have a quiet game against Green Bay, but the important thing to note is that he split carries with Theo Riddick, and he's sure to get a lot of goal line work heading forward. I think he's got a lot of upside. And then Shane Vereen is on IR, and so Orleans Darkwa is a good guy to snag. He could get the lead job. Rainey is also a guy worth kind of monitoring. We'll see who emerges, but I prefer Darkwa out of those guys. Maybe in a deep league, you might take a flyer out on Rainey. Tight ends, Allie, what do you got?
Yes, well, Christmas coming early for people like me who have been waiting for Eifert to come back. So he's not a definite for Thursday, but if not this week, if no one in your league has him, obviously he should be picked up. The Eagles are on a bye this week, but I believe that Ertz should be back for his next game. So make sure that he is grabbed. I think a deeper pick you can go for is Cameron Brate of the Buccaneers. Yep. Is now the top tight end because Austin Seferian-Jenkins was released.
Bye.
But now we've got the great Brate. I'll come up with a name.
Yeah, get better on that. That's actually pretty good.
I don't know. Of course, you can't help but be excited for Gronk, even though he had a slow week on Thursday night against the Texans. You will feel worse.
Be on the waiver wire, though, Allie. We're talking waivers.
No, not on waivers.
For Gronk to
We're
come
just
back.
talking about general excitement about him.
Good, because you've been so dire late, with your attitude lately. So
I know I'm turning a corner. I'm turning a corner now that I know Eifert is coming back. I'm happier. Obviously, if Rudolph is still on the waivers, get him immediately so that you can bench him.
Like you did.
Like I did. Also, because Jared Cook went down with an injury for the Packers, Richard Rodgers is going to be seeing possibly that many more snaps or receptions. So he is a good little waiver wire pick as well.
There is. The Green Bay offense looks back on track. Okay,
yes,
we are running out of time, so we're going to be quick on this. Our last thing, speaking of the Green Bay Packers, is our Bay, B-A-E, Bay of the week. Like our Green Bay of the week. Yeah, you get it? Except it doesn't obviously have to be a Packer. We are homers. We are all Packer fans. I'm sure we just lost a few viewers because of that. So, Dr. Z, who's your Bay of the week?
Well, I'm sure you can probably guess that my Bay of the week is Melvin Gordon. I love this guy. I reached for him in the Lady League, and I haven't been disappointed. Although the yards per carry weren't really there for him this week, he did get a touchdown. And the most exciting thing about this touchdown is that he rushed behind former Wisconsin teammate Derek Watt. He's a fullback. Obviously, they played together in Wisconsin. He was drafted by the Chargers this year in the 6th round, basically to clear the way for Melvin Gordon, and he did just that. If you guys go back and watch that play, which I have, it just will give you chills. Like, you're going to remember.
We'll look for a GIF or a video and post it on the Lady League. Speaking of the Watt family, for those of you who haven't heard, J.J. Watt may be put on season-ending IR for a back injury.
Oh, no.
Huge bummer there. He's so great to watch play, and obviously we don't like any injuries. Fantasy implications just if you're in an IDP league, but hate to hear it. Not necessarily. We don't know if it's season-ending, but it looks like he's going to be put on IR. So that's an aside. Allie, who's your Bae of the Week?
I believe in miracles since it came along. You sexy thing, you sex. So this is actually more for fantasy reasons than normal Allie reasons. It finally paid off. It was my first year ever slightly reaching for Aaron Rodgers. It finally paid off this week. He got me more than 30 points in PPR, scored me my highest of the week. He also had like a great little like caught on camera under his breath, I'm back like moment, which is just classic like Rodgers, just like calling out the critics. He had obviously a crazy, amazing first half, cooled off in the second half, not perfect, but definitely enough for me to be so excited about finally, after seasons of staying away from being a Packers homer in fantasy, I finally just went for it, and I'm happy.
Yeah, well,
picture of him.
I'm not happy. I mean, I am happy, obviously, as a Packer fan, but as a fantasy football owner, I played against Rodgers and Doherty. That combo.
So hard. It's so hard.
I was like, yes, but
no.
But yes. I mean, can't Lacey run it in or something? Yeah, conflict of interest. I go my team first. Yes. My actual Packers first, and then fantasy second. Anyway, so my Bae of the Week is Todd Gurley. Welcome to the stage, Gurley. We've been waiting for you, and after the first 2 weeks of single digits, welcome to the double digits. He got 20 points, and I really just have high hopes for him. I really hope he's everything we hoped he was. He's an exceptional talent. Thank you, Gurley.
Yes. Great for us Hard Knocks fans.
Oh yes. Okay, so final whistle. So we're gonna end the podcast. I keep calling it podcast. With our final thoughts, Colleen, Dr. Z, you're gonna start. Final whistle, go.
I just want to point out that this vodcast is for everybody, but I want to shout out to the ladies. If you are a woman and playing in a fantasy football team, we really encourage you to send us a message on social media. Tell us your trials and tribulations. Send us your questions. We want to help you win your fantasy league.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Allie, final whistle.
Yes. Careful. Don't do what I do. Careful of the sit trigger for the first few weeks. Obviously, I think I've been pretty good, but I did sit Doug Baldwin and I learned my lesson. So probably wait till the end of week 4 or 5 to start writing people off. Because it's too early.
It's too early, and I'm going to piggyback off that because, and I talked about this last week, but don't overtinker. Don't second guess yourself. Be bold and commit. And the thing that I do is on Sunday morning, I'm laying in my bed and I whip out my phone and I'm like, oh, I can't play him. Oh.
I do it too.
Yeah. And then sometimes I just need to let it be. Just set your
let
lineup.
It go. Your gut. Trust your gut. Your gut is good.
Your gut is good. Okay, so that is it for the first live episode of the Lady League. For all of you watching, follow us on social media at the FF Lady League on Twitter, on Instagram, the Lady League on Facebook. Subscribe to us so you can catch all of our episodes. We will be doing live episodes every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific. That's 9 Central. And we are excited to help you win your league. All right, ladies, say goodbye.
Bye, guys. Go
Bye.
Kill it.
See you next week.
See
you next week. Week 4, baby.
Woo!